Yeah, Gotham's a mess. Always has been, always will be. People look dark about how the place is a lost cause, but they don't see what I see. They don't see the men and women who get up every damn day, put on their badges, and walk into this hellhole with their heads held high. People think the GCPD is just another crooked, underfunded, overcrowded mess. But let me tell you something, they couldn't be more wrong. We ain't perfect, hell, we're not even close. But you can say whatever you want about us. We don't quit, we don't back down. This city might be crawling with scum, but there's a reason why we show up every day to clean it up. Even if it means getting our hands dirty. Yeah, sure, we get the short end of the stick. We start chasing down freaks with masks and capes, dealing with the city scum and find the way into every crevice. And don't get me started on the politicians who'd rather shake hands with the criminals than help us out. We do it anyway. Every damn day. We're the ones out there in the front lines, fighting a war most of the city's too scared to face. Look, people can talk all they want about Gotham needing a savior, about Batman. Hell, I've seen it all, I've heard it all. But the truth is, you wanna know who's out there when the Bat's not around? Who's making sure Gotham stays at least a little bit of what it's supposed to be? It's the GCPD. We're the real heroes. We may not have the flashy gadgets or the capes, but we got something better. Resolve. We don't get the glory, we don't get the praise, we don't need it. What we need is justice. And when things look the worst, when the city's on fire and every corner's crawling with the crooks, we're the ones keeping the lights on. We're the ones making sure Gotham don't fall apart. So yeah, Gotham's got its problems. It's a sinking ship, but you know what? It's our ship. And if we go down, we're going down swinging. That's what makes the GCPD the best damn cops in this city. Hell, the best cops in the goddamn world. Hello everyone, welcome back to Character Chronicles. I'm the Comic Wraith. Today we're looking at the best and brightest of that Gotham has to offer, the GCPD. Let's get into it. Gotham. The most crime-ridden city in the world, with crimes ranging from robbery and assault to terrorism and murder. Gotham is filled with bad people. And whilst the Bat family do their best, they're still only human. That is where Gotham's finest comes in, the Gotham City Police Department. Now, today the GCPD are close allies of the Bat family, but that was not always the case. Best explored in Batman Year 1, when James Gordon is transferred into Gotham from Chicago for arresting a corrupt senior officer. Gordon is introduced to two people, Detective Arnold Flass and Commissioner Gillian Loeb. Loeb is corrupt to the core, and Flass is constantly extorting and assaulting people. Gordon refuses to partake, and Loeb orders Flass to make an example. This leads to the assault of Gordon, who soon makes an example of Flass right back. As Gordon cracks down on the corruption, he forms an uneasy alliance with Batman, leading to a subsequent cleaning up of the GCPD, eventually becoming commissioner himself as Loeb is forced to resign after his corruption is exposed by Flass, who testifies against him. Thanks to Gordon, Batman, and District Attorney Harvey Dent, this leads to GCPD's partnership with Batman and the creation of the Bat Signal, a spotlight used to call Batman for help as well as warn other criminals that Batman is on the way. Detective Renee Montoya is tough as nails and just as much an honest cop as Commissioner Gordon. Partnered initially with Detective Harvey Bullock, they worked together extensively in the Homicide Division until Bullock was promoted to Lieutenant. In Gotham Central, Montoya had been repeatedly harassed by a man named Marty Lipari, who Montoya arrested on a sexual assault charge, which he ended up walking away from. He's trying to sue her for $10 million for damages. This progressed to a worse degree when Lipari hired a private investigator to find info, who then showed up dead. This would worsen even further after a photo of Montoya embracing another woman was sent to the GCPD and hung up for all to see, outing Renee as a lesbian to everyone. Lipari continuously harassed Renee, leading into her righteously kicking his ass, but before he could do anything about it, he was shot dead, and Renee was the prime suspect. With no evidence to support otherwise, Renee's arrested and sentenced for the murder, but on the way to prison, a gang crashes into the bus, and Renee wakes up in the company of one Two-Face. He reveals that he's the one behind everything, the murder of both the PI and Lipari, as well as being the one who sent in the picture outing her to everyone. When Montoya asks why Harvey did this, he confesses that he's in love with her, and that he destroyed her life so that she'd be broken just like he is. Renee understandably rejects the advances, causing Two-Face to become furious and saying he'll kill Renee's girlfriend Daria. This leads to a struggle which is stopped due to Batman's intervention. And whilst her name would be cleared thanks to Batman, it was only one of a few things that Montoya would end up suffering from. Following another incident where Renee and her partner Crispus Allen were attacked by the Black Spider, Johnny LaMonica, Allen had to use lethal force to save them, but before the GCPD could prove the shooting was necessary, Jim Corrigan, a corrupt crime scene investigator, steals and sells the bullet to the highest bidder. Over time, Montoya is able to find the bullet and prove Alan's innocence, but it wouldn't end there. Later, as Alan tries to build a case against Corrigan, Renee starts formulating into bad choices. Needless to say, she starts excessively drinking and picking fights at clubs. Chris notices this and tells her to get her act together or find another partner. Later that night, though, Chris is pursuing a lead and finds his informant bleeding out. He asks where Corrigan is, but before he can answer, Corrigan himself shoots him in the back, killing Alan where he stands. However, this wouldn't be the last we'd see of Crispus Allen, as while his body laid there in the morgue, an entity known as the Presence would bind his soul, making him the new and current spirit of vengeance, the Spectre. If you'd like a Character Chronicles video on the Spectre, please let me know. I'd love to do one for you all. Corrigan had managed to cover his tracks really well, having an alibi and bribing the cop who he took the gun from. Renee knew that the only way to serve true justice was to track him down. So she does. Goes to his apartment, where she breaks in and knocks out his girlfriend before pointing her gun at him. He breaks down, begging her not to kill him. She gets close, but spares him, the next day turning in her badge, saying she's done. Now, there is more to Renee as a character, specifically to do with her time as the Question, but that feels like it could be a whole video in itself, which I'd like to do in the future as well. Let me know if you'd like that also. Detective Harvey Bullock is basically every 70s detective you can think of in a PG-13 rating. Crass and rude, but when it matters, he's got a heart of gold. In the early years, Harvey wasn't necessarily a good cop, garnering a reputation of accepting bribes and doing work for the mob. This behavior would lead to Gordon giving Bullock his suspension, which wouldn't last very long as Mayor Hamilton Hill would reinstate Harvey as a sergeant, much to Gordon's chagrin. Bullock would be a puppet of Mayor Hill, following his orders to undermine Gordon at every turn. This would come to a head when, in an attempt to simply prank Gordon, Bullock would call saying Batman had been shot and dying. As Gordon opened the drawer for his car keys, springs popped out. The resulting shock, mixed with the already extreme stress, however, caused Gordon to have a heart attack and to be hospitalized. This racked Harvey with guilt, causing him to end his partnership with Hill, and he would end up saving Gordon's life with the help of Batman, cementing his change of heart. Of course, Gordon would take some time to warm up to Harvey following all these events. Mayor Hill tried numerous times to assassinate Harvey, until Batman was able to deduce that Hill was behind it. Hill, being slippery however, managed to suspend Gordon from his role and make Batman Gotham's most wanted. This led to Harvey finding and confronting Hill himself, who would then promptly shoot him in self-defense. Whilst recovering, one officer stayed by his side, James Gordon. After Hill was arrested and Bullock recovered, he rejoined the GCPD properly, and would be an asset on many cases, often partnering with the boy wonder Robin, eventually being able to deduce that it was Jason Todd, not Dick Grayson. Not that he figured out the identity, he just knew it was not the same Robin. After a stint in the organization known as Checkmate, if you want a video on Checkmate, let me know too. So many videos. He would go on to be partnered with Detective Renee Montoya until his promotion to lieutenant. He's been a recurring officer in the Batman mythos ever since. Now, of course, we wouldn't be able to do a video on the GCPD without, of course, acknowledging the man himself, Commissioner Gordon. But before we get to him, I do want to ask a little highlight. I want DC to do this. Bring back Aaron Cash. He was only ever an Arkham Guard, yes, but in the Arkham games he becomes a member of the GCPD. And I think it's even implied that he becomes acting commissioner after Gordon becomes mayor in that series. Bring him back, he's an interesting character. It'd be fun. But my little fanboying aside, let's get into James Gordon. James Gordon is easily the most honest and hardworking police officer in DC Comics history. Growing up in Chicago, Gordon unfortunately saw his father take his own life in front of him and his mother. And when he became of age, Gordon would end up joining the US Marine Corps, where he became proficient in hand-to-hand combat and a skilled marksman, becoming a full-on Green Beret. After his time in the military, Gordon would meet and marry his first wife, Barbara Eileen Keene, and would join the Chicago Police Force before being promoted and transferred to Gotham for exposing corruption. Now, before we go any further, I do want to specify, DC's continuity is, for lack of a better term, all over the fucking place. So forgive me if I don't get everything 100% right. I consulted Batman Year 1, Gotham Central, and DC Wikis for the best info I could find. And forgive me if it's a little off. That being said, let's get into it. Not willing to compromise his values, Gordon quickly made enemies of the corrupt GCPD, refusing to take bribes as well as calling out bad behavior, to the point Commissioner Loeb threatened Gordon with taking proof of his affair with Officer Sarah Essen to his wife and newborn son, James Gordon Jr. This inevitably wouldn't matter, as Gordon would end up confessing to Barbara himself, and Essen would leave Gotham to avoid any further problem. A little while later, Gordon would end up taking in his newly orphaned niece, Barbara Gordon, eventually adopting her as his own daughter. Shortly after, though, his wife, Barbara, would leave Gordon and take their son with her. Now, moving on from his family, Gordon has worked with Batman and, for a time, District Attorney Harvey Dent, the three working together in an attempt to fight the head of the Falcone crime family, the Roman, Carmine Falcone. This battle would come to a head following a particularly long Halloween, where Dent was burned with acid and would go on to become the villain Two-Face. Since the event, Gordon has remained a steadfast ally to the Bat family, which of course includes his own daughter, Barbara, as the famous Batgirl/Oracle. Gordon himself would even temporarily don the Bat cowl, becoming Batman for a year with the assistance of a mech suit named Rookie. Despite numerous times a criminal element have tried to break him, Gordon has kept his values and always reaffirms that crime needs to be fought by the book. And that was the video on the GCPD, Gotham City Police Department, Gotham's finest. It's been really fun to make, and for recommended reading, I highly recommend Batman Year 1 and Gotham Central, which had a reprinting in 2022, and if you can't find a copy of the book for Batman Year 1, I highly recommend watching the movie where Bryan Cranston portrays Jim Gordon. It's a really good film. Yeah, that's all I really have about the video itself. Our next video, are mine and a few of my collaborators who I've been working with. We're working on something big, and I'm really excited to share it. You guys like Flashpoint? Hopefully you will after this. Anyway, I've been the Comic Ray. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps. And if you will, please support me on Patreon. We've had to do a little change to the Patreon, actually. So, because I live in Australia, the minimum for Patreon in Australia is $2 Australian, which I believe is still $1 US. For that, you get exclusive polls to help comment on the next videos we make. And then the next tier up, we only have the two, is $5 Australian. And with that, you get access to videos 2 days early, and they'll also be uncensored if, like, I decided to cover a book that's very gory or sexual. So yeah, if you guys want to help out in any way you can, please, that's the best way you can help us out. We recently hit 12 subscribers. I know, crazy milestone. We did hit 1,000 views. That was awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's been so fun. And the next one, it's everything you know will change in a flash. See ya!